Hey everybody, welcome to episode 7 of the CCT engineering class. Today we're going to talk about scheduling, trending, alarming, and displays. All of these can be done in any of the new F-series controllers. The F4, CGM, CVM, so the VAV controllers, or the unitary controllers. So used to, you'd have to have an advanced controller. The PCA controllers could do this because they have built-in time clocks. But now all the controllers have built-in time clocks, so they're all capable of doing all those things. So scheduling, alarms, trends are all done under the advanced feature. At the bottom of the screen, you got the advanced tab. And if you go there, you can set up alarming and trending and scheduling. There's the display tab next to it, and we'll talk about that later. So to do a schedule, all you have to do is go down there and right click and add schedule. Then you click on the schedule to start the configuration. So in the configuration of the schedule on the first page, one of the first things that you want to do is go to the scheduled item and go ahead and pick the item that you want to schedule. What that will do is it'll automatically change your enums for you over here. If you don't, you're just going to get that generic on-off enum, and then whenever you go and pick your item, that's not going to match up. So you're going to do a lot of work twice if you don't do that. After that, you change to weekly schedule, and then you can set your weekly schedule. You can do it on a per day basis, or you can do it Monday through Friday, and then do a different schedule Saturday and Sunday, or you can do it all. So I always start with unoccupied. That just kind of lays down the base. So if you do all and then do unoccupied, then it will go ahead and populate everything unoccupied for you. Now, you don't have to do that. That's just personal preference. You can always choose the default to be unoccupied, and then you could start your schedules at 6. But then you get this kind of a gray, and then a blue, and then a yellow, and then I don't really like it like that. So that's why I always start with unoccupied. You can have exception schedules. So you can do date exceptions. You can do a date range exception, a week and day exception, and a calendar reference. Okay. So very similar to Niagara, you can pick a certain day or a date range or a day and week. So the day and week, you would do like Memorial Day is always the last Monday of May. So you could do Monday, the last week of May, and it would do Memorial Day for you every year, right? Or if you're doing maybe a church or a school or something like that, you can throw in a calendar reference, and their spring breaks kind of change every year, so you can throw in a year at a time when their spring break is and take that week out for them. This is what a calendar looks like, and you can go and, like I said, pick days and choose to do whatever you want with the air handler that day, or whatever unit you're occupying, chiller, air handler, or whatever. If you want it to run just a few hours that day, you can set it to run a few hours, or if you want to go full unoccupied, you can do full unoccupied. Trending. Trends are pretty cool because you can actually view these trends inside of CCT, or if you have a external display on the controller, or even an internal display, if you get one of the CGM 9090s with the display, you can actually see the trends on the display themselves. So you set up these trends, they don't live in the front end, they actually live in the controller themselves. So you can go and plug in your map tool or your CWCVT tool and run CCT and actually see the trends inside the controller. So you set what you want to trend, and you set your intervals. If you want it to be COV, your interval is going to be 0, and then you just want to make sure you set your COV increment to whatever, and then whenever it changes beyond that increment, it'll go ahead and log it for you. Alarming. Now, alarming's different because there's nothing that's If you have a display, it is going to show up red on the display and flash or whatever on the screen there that you have an alarm, but it's not going to notify you of anything else. So this is probably the less useful feature inside of CCT. It's intrinsic alarming, so it can be brought up to a supervisor, but you would really want to do that in the supervisor if you're gonna have it hooked to a supervisor. But if this is the standalone unit, you can have an alarm, especially if it has a little display on it. That way, someone walks up to it and says, "Oh, this is an alarm. It's telling me that there's something wrong with it." So again, less useful feature, but it's there. Displays. Now, I love displays. I will set displays up in VAVs. Even though there's not a display for a VAV, you can set up the displays for the VAV, and then you can give your customer, the end user, one of these external displays. They can go and plug that into the bottom of the stat and change the set point. If the display's in there and it's unlocked for them to change it, they can change the set point right then and there. They can override it, they can change it. So they have a lot of good features for that. So I used to set up displays for everything that I touch. It doesn't add any extra stuff to the controller. The controller handles it. And all you have to do is go down here to this display setting right here, the tab, and click on edit and click this little hamburger, and you're done. It auto populates all of your display for you. Now, it doesn't add anything to the idle page, and we'll talk about that later. But you could still get to your inputs and outputs using that external display. Now, the thing is, you do have to do is come over here to the authorization and either disable it or put a local password in there. There is no default password, and since it's set on default password, since there isn't one, there's no way to get in if you leave this checked there. So you do have to do that. All right, let's look at this inside of CCT. So I'll just create a program here real quick. I'll do a VAV. Single duct. I'll make it a fan power box this time, right? Fan power box, parallel fan. We'll do electric heat, 2-stage, sure, with a discharge air sensor. Next, finish. Now, before you go to the advanced tab, see there's really nothing here. That's because I need to define my hardware. I need it to know that it's a CGM 3050. So now that I've clicked on this, I can click my point assignments, and now I can hit close, and look, now my advanced tab is populated down here. Okay, so let's start off with a schedule. So when I right click and add schedule, here's my schedule. I'm going to go ahead and make this bottom screen big. Remember, the first thing I tell you to do is hit edit, go down here to scheduled items, because right now you see that it's off on. So if I go through and do all this, it's going to be off on. I don't want that. So if I go ahead and do scheduled items, I hit this little plus sign, and then I go find the item I want to schedule. Normally it would be the aux schedule, right? Present value, yep. Boom. Now it's occupied, unoccupied, standby. It's got all the aux schedule enums in there. So now when I go, and remember, I like to do all unoccupied. That changes it all one color. See that? I hate that little gray and then yellow and then whatever. So that's just personal preference again. And let's say I run an office building Monday through Friday, and I want to start up at 5 in the morning. I would go Monday through Friday, 5 a.m. occupied, okay? And now I need to tell it to go back unoccupied. So Monday through Friday, we'll call it 1700, 5 o'clock in the evening. I meant to do unoccupied, but I got too happy there. So I'll just go through here and right click and change these unoccupied. There. See? It's that simple. And say maybe we wanted a little bit of a time on Saturday. Maybe they're open from 8 to noon on Saturday. So we can go Saturday. We'll start it at 7 occupied. And then Saturday noon unoccupied. Boom. There you go. And there's our schedule. And like I said, we can have exceptions to that schedule. So a date, throw a date out there if we needed to, or date range, like I said, May, 4th week, Monday. Boom. What do we want it to do on that day? We want it to be unoccupied. Boom. All right. Let's see. A date is going to be Christmas. December 25th of every year is Christmas. What do we want it to do on Christmas? We want it to be unoccupied. So every schedule, every day that we put in this exception list, we do have the option to do something with it. So if we wanted to run half a day, sometimes we can make it run half a day. If we want to be off all the time, we can. So there you go. We can do a calendar, but I have to create a calendar up here first. So I'm going to go ahead and apply that. And there we go. Calendar. So if I wanted to add a calendar, I could. You hit edit, add. You pick the dates that you want. Just going to pick random, like I'm picking bingo numbers or something. There you go. Keno. And then hit save, apply. And now if I go to schedule, if I go exception schedule, edit, calendar reference, the name of the calendar we want to reference, and then what we want to do on those days. Maybe these are the days we want it to be unoccupied, and then have it occupied around 10 to 2 p.m., which should be 1400. There we go. Apply. See? That easy. Now, trends. If we wanted to trend something, we'll add a trend. I would name it zone temp trend or something like that. ZNT dash trend. Okay. So here, the input reference, that's what you want it to trend. So we would go over here, hardware, inputs, the zone temp. We have to choose this little green dot zone temp right there. Present value, buffer size, how many do we want? We can do like 3,000. That's fine. Right? Sample interval. How many seconds do we want it to trend? Let's do every 2 minutes. Every 120 seconds. Apply. Boom. There you go. So now we're going to get 3,000 samples at 120 seconds. Okay? And it'll show up on a graph. And then whenever we want to see that, we'd run CCT, come in here and double click on the trend, and we actually see the graph. Okay? Alarming's a little different. So everything that we can alarm is already in here for us. So here's all the inputs, outputs, network inputs, outputs, and parameters. So anything that we wanted to alarm, we could. So if we want to alarm when the discharge air gets too high, we can. So we'll make this true. And then we'd say, hey, I want to alarm anytime the discharge air gets above 120 or anytime it gets below 45 degrees. And then we could have a deadband there. And then we could either choose the high limit, the low limit, or both. Okay. And then we can get alarm back to normal or not. So if we just want fault, we can. Or to off normal. we can. So that's how alarming goes. And now, what the schedule is this little icon right here. The alarm is this little icon right here. And my trend is this little icon right here. So it gives us icons on the CCT up here to show us that we are doing something with it down here in the advanced tab. Now displays, this is what I love about displays. All you have to do is come in here and display, click edit, click the little hamburger, click disable, and click apply. That's it. That's the most basic display you could do, but it gives you, it's so powerful, because if you had one of those little portable displays, you could plug in literally to the stat that's on the wall, and you would be able to see and command all the points. Okay. If you do the check mark, so here's zone set point. If I check mark this, a check mark means it's read only. So I believe it tells you right there. Yes. So when you hover over this, gives you a little information. It says it turns it read only. So that wouldn't be a writable point for me. I don't like that. I want that writable point. And now you have this idle page. So idle page is what's kind of scrolls across without you hitting the button, right? So if you wanted certain things up here in idle page, the two things, you can either drag them up here and drop it on there. Sorry, that didn't drop. It's very picky. There you go. And now my zone temp would be on the idle page. But look, it took it out of the input outputs page. So if you don't mind that, that's fine. It's there still. But if you don't want that, you could duplicate this. Let's copy it. And then I can come down here and I can paste it. Boom. So now it's not only on the idle page, but it's back here in my input outputs. Another way to do that is to come over here on the side and then grab the little green dot and drop it in here. So now look, my discharge air temp is both on my idle page and on my input output page. You can even customize it. You can make your own folders. So if you wanted a different folder, you can come over here and name it whatever you wanted to. I don't know, custom. Boom. And now you would have a custom folder on your display. You would have to go in and throw your custom points in there that you want in there, but you could name it whatever. You could name it tab. So tab could see what the K factors and everything were, okay, on there. Supply area, K factor, all that. So you can name custom programs on there. Hit apply and done. Now I wish I had a display, but I don't have access to it. They're not that expensive, but I don't want to waste my money. I don't want to go out and spend $400 anymore on this channel. Sorry guys. I used to, but it's not in me anymore. I don't make any money on this. I just want to get the information out to people. So these are really nice things, and if you can sell one to your customer, sell a display to your customer. You know, if you want to buy one yourself, it's great, especially if you go map out a layout. Say the customer doesn't have graphics and they have a Johnson system and network stats all over the wall. That's what I used to do. I used to go and plug into the bottom of the stat. Even if the display settings aren't there, it'll at least give you the MAC address and the name of the controller. So it'll tell me what controller that is, so I can mark it on my little notebook, a general location of where it's at, and I can map out a whole building in a few hours instead of popping open the ceiling tile, going and taking a picture of the address of the controller or whatever you got to do. You know, pop open the ceiling tile, take the cover off the controller or the VAV or fan power box, open up the door and write down the address of the controller. That takes time instead of just going and plugging in, marking it down, go to the next one, plug in, mark it down. So thanks for watching.